I'm running things.
Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the it is?
Aries and Andy, Jew and the Jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut, cold. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Subscribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was on your mama.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism. Much love to my loyal bag holders.
Rollers, loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
I was watching some on Instagram, and they showed that movie Black Dynamite with Michael Jai White and Tommy Davidson, who plays, I guess, a pimp named Cream Corn. And Tommy, that scene when he's in the nail salon and he's got the rollers in his hair and he's talking pimp and he's filing his nails and he goes, I'm running things. I'm running things. It's just funny. Here in Denver, first things first, just so you guys know, the meat and potatoes of what we're discussing is the Netflix documentary, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey? 3-part, which is more than riveting, I can say. If you don't know about it, you got to watch this. Because Andy and I were in the hallway of the hotel yesterday, and he had seen the whole thing, and I told him I was in the middle of episode 2 and was going to finish watching it this morning, which I did. And he says to me, when you get to that 3rd episode, it's heavy. And I went, okay. And prior to, it was kind of already putting some weight on. But they start episode 3 with the caption, the warning. Listen, some of what you're about to hear in terms of sexual child abuse is going to be tough. So just, viewer discretion advised. Because at one point, I'm in the middle of episode 2, and I'm going, I wonder when this moment is coming that Andy told me about. And no sooner than they showed that graphic, finally, later on in the episode, I went, this is the moment. So that's the meat and potatoes. But before we get into that, we do have some appetizer conversation that we're going to stuff in your fat mouths. First, I want to give a big shout out to my ass chauffeur driver that picked me up from the airport. That was a straight biatch. Nah, that, Andy. Don't pull that where you get nice now. Because sometimes, no. You know how you do. In the moment, when you know somebody is a you know it, but as time goes on, you've become very forgiving.
I was trying not to have you go there with him. He was a
ass, and the only reason why I didn't really get crazy with it is because I could feel he would have been like, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna cancel this ride, schedule another ride." And I was like, it's a nice little distance from the hotel from Denver Airport, so I'm like, it was what it was. But anyway, so Annie gets in around the same time as me. What United, right?
Yeah, we both
on United. Yeah. But I came in a little bit earlier than him. So basically, I'm like, like we always do when that happens. Let's ride together to the hotel to save you the Uber expense. So I called the driver to let him know, hey, I got my bag, but I'm waiting on my man, and then we're going to ride together. He's real nervous on the phone. How many bags? Well, I mean, I got my bag and he got his bags. What's the problem? Because, that's what the trunk is for. He go, I don't know, not enough room, I don't know. I go, what you got, a SUV? Because if you got an SUV, there's plenty of room. But he goes, no, I have a sedan. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll make it work. Cut to Andy got his the big suitcase, the big duffel bag. He had 3 bags.
And another duffel bag. And then I had my just carry-on.
Yeah, with the backpack. And of course, I got just my 1 bag and my backpack. So the panic on this face when he sees the bags. And he was like, I can't make this work. The people, the company, the boss, he won't like it if we do too much. And anyway, we get all the bags in the trunk except for maybe
the 2 small bags.
The 2 small bags, which we could easily put in the front seat. This ass calls his boss and yum, 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 yum. And his boss on the other end, yum, 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 yum. And then he comes back and goes, no, I can't do it. So then Andy goes, all right, well, listen, let me just leave what bags I could with you. I'll take what I can and I'll catch the Uber over. And then the dude gets off the phone with his boss and he said, I forget what he said, but he's something to the extent of, I couldn't do it because my boss wouldn't be happy. I said, you didn't have to tell him. You didn't have to tell your boss that. We could have made this work, you. So, you know, Andy ended up, and he came in probably 8 minutes after I arrived, but it was the point. Like, you could have made that work.
See, the reason I'm trying not to put it all on him is because I don't know. Maybe his boss chewed his ass out yesterday. I don't know, but
How would his boss have known?
he wouldn't have known. And that's the thing. Like you said, he could have just put it up there. They weren't big bags. They weren't anything that was going to damage the car. There was plenty of room in the trunk. The trunk could have actually taken one more piece in there if we really wanted to do it that way.
Right.
But he wasn't about that. But like I said, and I felt the same thing you did. This dude's going to cancel it. That's why I go.
That's why I didn't, you know.
And that's why I said, I'm just going to get an Uber. And then you guys took off with there. I didn't think about that I was going to be there that much later than you, but it took me about 6 minutes to get my Uber before it showed up.
Right.
And so I saw him leaving, though, when I was pulling in. Mm-hmm. He was, okay, yeah. But I don't know what his situation was. But his boss was saying, he came back and said, this isn't what was ordered or something. I don't know, man. But he could have not got a nice tip if he would have just been,
Oh, well, he blew that.
Yeah, if he would have just been like, okay, he would have got taken care of.
Right.
But he wanted to make it tough.
Assness. So listen, man, this morning, well, you know, when I came out, my flight was at 8 something, but to fight that traffic from my house, because by 5:50, that traffic kicks in, and it could just be an hour just to get over the hill. So to really beat that traffic, I got to leave my house at like 5:35, which put me at the airport a little bit earlier than I would have liked to have been. But again, I'd rather that than deal with that traffic. So, dude, I'm telling you, I got to the airport, and I had to take a son, and I was on a quest, my guy, to find sanctuary, because I'm at the point, I don't want to in a bathroom that's crowded. I don't give a that we got stalls. I know I can see your feet underneath next to me. I don't feel comfortable. And this was serious. So I must have walked to 4 different bathrooms. Each one was crowded. The airport was just so crowded this morning. I even went as far as to go to the United Sky Lounge. Now, unlike, I got a lot of miles with United. Well, no, I got enough. Well, I got so many miles with American and Delta that, I get carte blanche when I go there. As a matter of fact, they even got this now on Delta called Delta One, but it's only in Orlando and LA, where if you've never been, you've ever heard of this?
No, not.
Dude, they got their own security. You got private security. So where you the normal get in line and go through the TSA, you go in a room and it's just you and one TSA agent. It's super ultra private. The restaurant, they give massages. There's some fly shit. I didn't even know about this. But I pretty much have that with United too. But their thing was, I went to 2. The one thing was, unless you're flying to another country, you can't have access to it. You gotta be flying somewhere that requires 10 hours or more. And then the other one was, I forget what the other one was, but it was almost like the opposite of that. Because I was going to Denver, it was too close of a distance. You had to have a certain amount of distance to be in. I said, I'll buy a day pass. It cost me $60. It was a wasted $60. I go into the private bathroom, and that's packed. So I'm just on this quest, man, looking to find a place to take a shit. Finally, I walk all the way down, way out of my way, to gate 89. My gate is, but the way the airport is structured, it's a distance. So finally, I find a place where I can take a shit. And as I'm getting ready to go into the bathroom, this one black brother, it was one of those, gender bathrooms where either one could
all
go
gender,
in.
yeah.
Right, all gender. So there's only one toilet in there. So you could lock the door. So I finally was able to do that. But before I go in there, the brother that was in there comes out. He goes, Aries Spears, man? I go, yeah. And we fist bump. He walks about 2 feet from me, turns around and goes, hey, yo, you know we the only real Jews, right? I said, and in my mind, I went, I'm going to shut this conversation down so fast. I said, brother, I'm good. He goes, but my brother, do you know that we are the black risen man? I said, I'm good. So he walked away. And then I did this post where I just went, I explained, look, listen, I got to take it. I'm looking for a place of sanctuary. And this going to come up to me talking about, do you know we the only real Jew? Nigga, it's 6:40 in the morning. Fuck you doing trying to talk that to me right now? Drop knowledge. It's 6:40. It's too early for this shit. And I got to take it. Keenan Ivory Wayans saw the post and he thought it was funny.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny because I just know you. And at that moment, these are personal moments. You're going to the bathroom. It's a single stall. This is important business.
And I'm not a morning guy.
And now you're going to...
Do I know we the real Jews? Nigga, I haven't had breakfast yet. Out of here.
So how do you feel now?
I still wouldn't want to have that conversation, ever. Dude, after we saw whatever that was, remember the doc?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was like
from Hebrew to...
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. That took everything out of me. On another note, I showed this to you in the car.
I still think it's something.
What?
It's just funny that I don't know how you're going to catch, like you said, you're going to try to drop knowledge while I'm trying to drop deuce.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, there's moments. Take your shot when the shot looks good.
But even if it wasn't about me dropping the deuce, it's 6:40, and you want to have a conversation with me. You know who I am because of the fame, but you don't know me. What makes you think I'm going to entertain a conversation with you about us being the real Jews at 6:40?
You could have just dapped him up and said, yeah, and then walked in, and he probably would have left you alone.
You have to shut that down with, what's the right word? Some fury. Because if you don't, anything else is inviting. Yeah. Oh, you going to listen to me? Well, nigga, let me continue. No, sir. No, sir. No. That's why I had to go, bruh. I'm good, bruh.
That's like the Jehovah's Witness knocking on the door.
Yeah, man. Out of here. So Andrew Schultz, comedian Andrew Schultz, got in some trouble. Well, he's not in any real trouble, but he's been blowing up on the internet, viral.
Got some backlash.
Some backlash, that's the word, because of what he said in regards to Kendrick Lamar. I guess somehow he said something about Kendrick first. Kendrick said something in retaliation to him. And then jokingly, I guess Andrew Schultz, I haven't seen the clip, but the gist of it was Andrew Schultz made a joke about wanting to rape and have sex with Kendrick Lamar.
Do you use the word rape? And
yeah.
See, I don't have any idea what this is. I saw some stuff online, but I never saw what he said.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
what Andrew said?
Yeah.
Well, this is Meek Mill's response. He was saying white men saying that they'll rape black men openly is extreme, and then say it's just a joke. Black manhood, not a joke. I seen the same guy saying I was gay on his stand-up. My white friends were like, it's a joke. We don't joke like that in the black community at all. And you and I have had these conversations. And again, my joke about the prostate exam and how black men take this stance on, we just don't play that shit, man. That's why, and again, I think sometimes we go a little too far with it because, within the context of what it is and where you're at, a comedy club, you should be able, with common sense, to understand, what the joke is, that there is a joke, in the
separated from the reality.
Separated from the reality. But overall, I've always said, again, when you look at MTV's ridiculousness, there's just, and again, there are exceptions to the rule. White tigers exist, but the norm is culturally, black people don't get down like that. We don't play with feces. We don't do the wild shit that white boys do. That's funny to white guys. I'm gonna put powder in my ass and fart it in my man's face while he sleep. Don't play them games, man. We don't do that. That's grounds for you getting your ass whipped. Don't pull your out. Don't put your nuts on my face when I'm asleep. Don't play with me and my. You keep your private parts locked the up. We just don't do that. So Andrew, you know, talking about black man openly. Them is fighting words for.
It's funny to me. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it because I didn't see.
But say what you said last night. You had something to say last night.
I forgot. How did I put it? I don't even.
Jesus.
What did I say?
And this is why a lot of times I go to you. I'd rather wait till we do the
Podcast so
and
that I'll
tell
say.
you. So it's spontaneous and fresh.
I do better when it's spontaneous. But one of the things I was going to say is since I haven't seen it, and like I said, I have jokes, and you said you got to say what you. I said that this was going to happen to him because he just talks so freely about anything that he wants to talk about in a room that has a lot of black folks in it.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
And it's going to miss, and they're going to come after him.
Eventually, something may miss. But for the most part, he hits.
Yes.
And hits hard.
But on this one, you know, I understand this because even you, when you do the joke about the process, there's times you don't even want to do it. You look at the crowd and you go, man,
There are times when I look at the crowd and feel the temperature, and I don't even want to do the joke about where I'm talking about words. And I go, every black man at one point, every man either sarcastically or what's the other word I use? Or sarcastically. I got to be in the rhythm of the joke to get it. Yeah. But basically has told his boys, I avoid that joke at certain times because I just go, I could feel the Dr. Umar Johnson, black man rage, testosterone in here, and I just don't want to have that fight.
I did a joke with you when I first started about having an enlarged prostate, and like sometimes I forgot how I did it, but it was just about my. And I called it a broke. Just a joke about your is in certain crowds.
Right.
Certain black crowds. It's off the table.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any laughter.
Hell no, man. We don't play that out of here, nigga.
So
remember when we were in Texas at one of the improvs? I can't remember if it was Arlington or Irvine. What's not the dueling pianos? What's the other one? The black one.
That's
Arlington.
I think so.
Arlington. And I did the prostate joke. And I literally got into an argument with the black dude to where he had to be thrown out.
Oh, yeah, that is right.
Come on, man, that finger in the booty. Nigga, that ain't funny, the finger in the booty. Like you're not even intelligent enough to see that actually it's not just about the joke. It's about the importance of black men putting aside their homophobia to get an exam that can save your life. You're so homophobic that you can't even see the forest beyond the trees. You can't even see, you know what, like you said, the separation of reality. But this is about, while there is some funny in this, the reality is, dog, put your homophobia away. Go get your prostate checked. It could save your life.
Someone sent me a video. I forgot who sent it to me, but it was just recently in the last 2 weeks, that there's a woman who comes on, a black woman, talking to black men about having to wash their ass. And now this is funny that's coming for me because she's saying that in the community there's a large percentage of men that won't touch their ass. They just have to have the water run down it because they don't even want to have their hand near their ass.
That's insane.
And she does this whole thing about how,
I never knew that.
Yeah. They don't even want their hand near their ass. Nothing touching it.
Oh, so you mean to tell me in your moment of solitude, in the shower, no one's watching unless you like to be watched. No one's watching. You're all alone. Really? Your homophobia runs that deep that you won't even clean your own ass?
This was just the video they sent me, and she's saying it's a black woman talking to black men about this situation. I'm not saying it's a lot. I don't know what the number is. They put this. They wash themselves, and then they kind of turn and let the water run, and whatever gets in, but they're not touching it.
Wow.
But the other one that's circulating not right now because I think it's kind of funny is, and it's not just black men, but it's men in general, but it's mainly black, Hispanic males. But they're at the barbershop, and have you seen this where they like the barber's doing stuff, doing whatever the thing, and they put the towel over their eyes.
Somebody come kiss them,
and it's
that's
usually the girl.
Funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Those dudes want to get up and beat someone's ass, like they're like.
Well, I can understand.
Yeah,
that.
I can too.
Right.
I'm not saying it would be weird if he reached over to hug him and pull him in closer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But you know what I'm finding funny? At what point, especially now with social media, where we see everything. you don't ever question this is a prank. If I was sitting in a barber chair and the barber put something over my eyes and I got kissed, there's no way I would really believe my barber kissed me. I would go, somebody's pranking me.
If you knew your barber. That's the funny part about it. If you know this guy, and you know that he's not doing that, right? So then you would think, I'm being pranked, yes. But what if it's the first time you're getting a haircut at this place?
What first-time barber would do that to you?
No one, hopefully.
I would think it would be more the barber that knows you that would do that.
Well,
to go, I know this, so I know him. I know how his temperament. I know he could probably go for this and find it funny or whatever. But a first-time barber is really, you gonna do that?
You're taking life into your hands.
Absolutely.
So I just think it's funny because people, it's not just a stereotype. The community gets played on that because it is prevalent in the community. So that's where all this funny comes from, or lack of funny. I don't know. I haven't seen Andrew Schultz do this. I'm sure that he said it. I honestly know as a comedian, he said it with a comedic intent and it was supposed to be funny. But as he said, we don't play that way. But it's a comedy show. It's not about playing. It's about going past where you're normally comfortable.
Well, I think he said it in an interview.
Oh, in an interview?
Yeah.
Ooh, well, that's a little different.
Well, he's got that. I know he's got the Brilliant Idiots podcast with him and Charlemagne. But then I think he has another podcast that I've seen where it's him and 3 other dudes, like an Indian dude and 2 white dudes. So I think that was that they were doing it, talking about it, and he said it on that.
See, this is the other area where I say the podcast is not a comedy club.
I disagree.
And I know you could be funny on the podcast, but it gets taken out of context because it's in the room of comedy. Even recently, when you had that person who hit you about the blind guy, and you made, or was it a blind woman?
Blind woman.
And you made that, which was hysterical, and she was part of the show, and it was really funny. There's no way you can separate it because it's a comedy show. She's at the show. You made it funny. She's laughing. Everyone else is laughing. The only people getting butthurt are, these moral warriors that are trying to put their own morality on something that they're not there to witness and be present at and don't understand. But on a podcast, it doesn't fall into that same exact parameter. There are parameters, but it's not the same.
Listen, you said something earlier in regards to it, where I go, and this kind of makes me feel a little bit better, even though I don't need it. But Andrew Schultz hits most of the time, as most comedians do, because we have the gift. That's the point. But yeah, there's a miss every now and then. Hence the skit with Tiffany. It was a miss. I thought it was funny. I tried to make it funny. I tried to make a point, and it was a miss. It happens.
It was a miss, and listen, I don't want to go all through that again. But at the time that you did it, again, as I say on this, you can't judge yesterday through today's lenses, man. You got to look at it at that time period. And a lot of people were doing those kind of jokes at the time because they were trying to be edgy because of this new way of getting attention on social media. The edgier, the better. The more attention you were going to get, the more people were going to watch it. And yours, actually, if some people would stop, if some people weren't afraid of washing their ass, they wouldn't be afraid of watching that whole video. Right. And they would have seen the message is you have to always watch your kids no matter who's around. Yeah. That was the message. There was a very obvious message in there that made sense. And I know
when you say, there are a lot of people that have done remember, there was a whole documentary about it on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'm not.
I know.
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying we all miss. Andrew might have missed.
But he was trying to be fun. He's a comedian. He's trying.
Yeah, that's always the intent.
But again, though, if you were going to be a white guy who plays a little bit into the black comedy game and has a black audience, a black following, you do have to understand what you're doing, right?
Right.
So he should take it on. If this is the case, take it on the chin and just go, yeah, okay, it's still funny, it's comedy, but and if I was him, I would defend it,
right? Because
as a comedian, you go up there and you do what you do. But I would like to see it. I just haven't seen it. And why haven't we seen it though?
Listen, man, I don't pretend to know everything that happens when it happens on social media. I mean, a lot of my shit that I find out, I think like everybody else is, second I don't want to say hearsay, but I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but I catch it late like everybody else. I'm not at the epicenter of when it happens.
Yeah, but if this is so controversial that there's multiple people commenting on it, you would think that the original audio would have run that this is about.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Yeah. Speaking of comedy, so this is the clip I wanted to play for you, where Barry Katz is talking to us. I don't know if he's talking to another comedian or somebody about comedy. And, I love Barry, but this annoyed the out of me on so many levels. Let me pull this up.
Comedians listening, film every set that you send out to somebody like a late night set. From the hips to the top of your head, straight on, no zooming in and out. And do your set. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, good night. And don't put stuff in there that's like, hey, what part of the McNugget is from the chicken? Hey, Gilligan's Island, they could make a bamboo blender, but they couldn't fix a hole in a boat this big. Oh, listen, I was fucking this girl and it was incredible. Hey, what's your name? What do you do for a living? It's like, just do the set and do material that is not dick jokes and and farting and menstruation and sperm and smoking a
Don't
joint.
be a hack,
and
is what he's saying.
watch fucking Bill Hicks and Jim Jeffries and then create something that no one has done before. Create a bit of how when you see somebody do it, you're like, holy. Watch Gary Gulman do 20 minutes on fruit and you're like, holy how do you make jokes about grapefruit? It's like, watch the greats, study greatness, imitate greatness, become great.
Okay, first of all,
That's the first time I've seen it.
yeah, and that's why I wanted this to be spontaneous. First of all, listen, man, I say this over and over and over again. There are no rules to this except one. Be funny. However you get there is how you get there. Just be funny. And for him to sit there and go, don't do jokes about this or don't do jokes. First of all, listen, I hate sometimes when we throw that, and I might have been guilty of it myself from time to time, the word hack. Because you don't agree with how somebody does something or because they do something. First of all, nothing's new. Do something that's never been done before. Everything's been done. Nothing's new. It's just whatever your unique take on it is. And to sit there and go, oh, don't do fart jokes or menstruation or talk about or this or that. Like, dude, you can't tell somebody what works for them. If you eliminate, don't do jokes on this chick or menstruation or blue, dirty. Well, now you calling Tracy Morgan a hack. Because that's what he does. Everybody eat elephant pussy. Like Jay Moore when he said, y'all, who remembers finger Portuguese girls on the handball court? That's Tracy. Now, if that's your style, you like him, that's who you naturally are, then be that. Everybody don't fit into a Bill Hicks. Everybody don't fit into a Gary Gulman. 20 minutes of Gary Gulman talking about fruit. No disrespect to Gary Gulman. I respect any comedian that grabs a mic because we all in the same hustle. We all in the same grind. We're all in the same game. So the fact that you have the cojones to be able to get on stage and be funny, I respect that. But Gary Gulman does not make me laugh at all. And believe me, I've watched his specials. If he come out with another one, I will watch it. Why? Because I'm a comedian who studies game tape. I'm just looking to see, okay, what was that about what you did that was funny? And even if I don't necessarily think it's funny, I still want to see. I want to see. Because that's what I want to watch. If I'm in the NBA, I'm watching everybody. I'm studying not just Jordan, I'm studying everybody. Even if you're not as good as Jordan, because that to me is a learning experience. But it's like, dude, I can tell you right now, and you've been in these rooms, Baltimore Comedy Factory, some of the other rooms I've done, pretty dominant black. Gary Gulman wouldn't survive, B, where you've survived. So to sit there and use Gary Goldman as watch Gary Goldman do 20 minutes on fruit. I'd rather on a pistol nozzle. Out of here.
I think Gary Goldman's funny, first of all. I'm going to say that.
And I'm sorry, let me just say this last thing and then I'm done. And then when he goes, don't ask people, what's your name? What do you do for a living? Now you just shit on crowd work. Because what's your name? What do you do for a living? Is the steps into crowd work. If I got a joke that you've seen. What's your name, sweetie? And if it's a black girl, most likely maybe Levitra. Levitra sound like a medicine. Damn, my nuts got a blue mark on it. You need Levitra. Then I double down. Who's that with your friend? That's my friend. What's your name? Moha. Moha, y'all sound like the disease and the cure. Dad, I got Moha on my nuts. Son, you need Levitra. That joke murders. I don't get there without asking what your name is.
I think, though, what he was talking about, and there's no context to what that was. You know, he didn't just, I don't think that he just came out and said that. And then when he said, you know, film it from the waist to the, you know, the top of your head, I think what he's looking for is an audition tape, is what he's trying to say.
Okay, that was for that. I got that.
Yeah, and for an audition tape, though, maybe he's saying try to do original material that maybe doesn't follow that same kind of pattern. You know, a joke that could be offensive, right out of the box as you're trying to get work. I think that's what he might be saying. But he said some other shit in there that I can't get behind at all, because he used to say, be undeniable. And I used to like that. Just be so funny that someone can't deny. You know,
Steve Martin had a quote like that.
Yeah.
Be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah, and, you know, when he says be undeniable, you know, that's Matt Rife. Matt Rife, the industry kept pushing Matt Rife back, and even today push back on Rife. And he's like, no, I'm funny. I'm still going to get this because I'm funny. Undeniable. But when he says, then he says, but what he said on this one, he goes, study genius, watch genius.
Become genius.
Before he says become genius, he says imitate genius. This is not a game about imitation. You got to find your own voice in this. You got to find out who you are. And yes, I understand if you're new and you're going to have a little somebody all the time because we're affected by the people that came before us. And, you know, even though I'm not prior at all, I know when I look at how I write or how certain things I say have a prior rhythm or a prior kind of idea behind it, because that's who affected me the most when I was a kid. Right. So I know that's in there, but I'm just going to say it this way. If you're exploring a jungle, let's say you're out in the jungle, you're out in Hawaii or wherever you are, and you're exploring the jungle, and you follow the path, you'll see what everybody's done before you. If you want to see something different, you have to create your own path. So that imitate greatness just means you're going to be a facsimile, a lesser version of, and not a true version of that greatness. You have to find your own space. And so when he said that, it really bothered me coming from him, because from him, someone who's been around this industry this long has looked at people, and he's somebody who could decide, yeah, I want more for that person. Let's bring them up. I understand what you're saying by a video. You're trying to get some work. You're sending it to clubs. You're sending it to an agent. Hey, this is me. Let me show you my most original. I won't go and do any really blue and crowd work sometimes to an audition tape. Doesn't work because they're like, but what happens if there's no crowd work? This is the best moment he's ever had on stage with crowd work, and so that's what he has. I understand it. I think when you generalize and you put a clip like that out, it causes me to go, oh, he's a teacher, because he was a comic. He became a teacher.
But you don't become a teacher unless you failed at comedy.
And I'm not trying to be a because I see the genius behind a lot of things that he's done, people that he's been around, people that he found before other people knew about. I think that he is a genius, and I understand
let me stop you for a second. If that's the case, why did Dave Chappelle leave him? Why did Jay Moore leave him? Why did Frank Caliendo leave him?
That I can't say. I'm not part of that. I don't know that. But you know, he still worked with those people early. Caliendo, he worked with early off of a videotape. He talks about it in his podcast. Chappelle, when he was 13 or 14? 14. He saw him and said, you know. So I give Katz the idea that he can recognize talent. I do understand also, you know, if you want an easier path to television, which I think that Katz looks at this as like getting to TV or to a movie is where you want to go, but getting to TV, the cleaner you are, the easier that transition is.
You know, you're right, and I'm right.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. We don't know what the context of that was. Let's say it was what you're saying it is for TV. Okay. But if it's not that, and he was just saying in general, then, dude, that's bad advice. That's bad advice.
The best advice I ever got, and I think, I got a lot of advice, and some good, some bad. Bad advice is also good if you can recognize that it's bad advice. But who was the producer for The Late Show with David Letterman for a long time? Do you remember?
Eddie something.
Yeah. Eddie Brill.
Eddie Brill.
So I was auditioning for something that he was producing, and he said, he saw me afterwards. And he goes, "Hey man, that was good, man. It really was good. Not what I'm looking for right now, but it was good." I go, "I'm sorry, man. I thought it's man. I was up there, and they told me not to say this and not to say this because it's for TV." And he goes, "They told you not to say it because it's for TV?" And I said, "Yeah, because you're going to put this on TV." He goes, "Listen, man, I don't know why people say this. I'm a producer. I'm a director. Right. I've done all these things." He goes, "You give me what you got, and if I love it, I'm going to find a way to go with you and go, listen, I love it. I want you on the show. We got to do this.
Right.
But give me your best. Let me tone it down where I need to tone it down. Don't try to tone it down for me. I'll do that."
Right.
And that was like the best advice I ever heard. And ever since then, because, you know, it's about anything in life. If you don't get something, you want to get it. You don't want to get it because you were 100% you, authentic, and you gave it the best shot you got. There's nothing worse than you flub what you're trying to say because you tried to adjust it for the people. And now you think you didn't get it, not because it wasn't great, because you f***ed it up yourself. Give it your best shot. If they like who you are, if they like what it is, they'll figure it out. If they don't, then they won't.
Well, that's why I love what Eddie Murphy said on Inside the Actors Studio. My best advice is don't take any advice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there is no, yes, technical things in terms of, you know, that's why, again, if that context was what you say it is, okay, there's some technicalities to it. But that aside, there's no rhyme or reason or rules to any of this. Just be funny, man.
Well, you know, also with Katz, he talked about on his podcast early on, the early episodes, the way he found Caliendo. He said that and this is true. I'm going to say this is what he said. So I know I have this right. I might not, but this isn't like quoting him or anything. This is, you know, I'm just paraphrasing what he said. He would go and he was sent stacks and stacks of VHS tapes. Back then it was VHS tapes. So he would just throw the VHS tapes in while he was like doing something, and he wouldn't put the volume on. Right. He was looking for the person's energy, like to come through the screen, like see them. And he goes, you can tell when something's funny going on stage. You don't have to hear it. And he would find, and then when he saw somebody he liked like that, then he would turn on the volume, and then he would listen to the set, and then he would do it. But you had to capture him with no volume.
I don't know how you do that unless you're Bert Kreischer and you got no shirt on.
Well, apparently,
because if I see a tape, and how many perform like that? He's the only one. So if I see a tape and the volume's off, but I'm seeing a dude shirtless, I might be curious. But other than that, so you mean to tell me all the other 99.9% of comedians with shirts and on, you turn the volume down and your energy, you sense an energy with no volume?
Okay, and now you said that. Everything that you just said.
Do the Mr. Miyagi of talent search?
So everything you just said, I agree with. So now he just said this other thing. Film yourself from the top of your head to your waist and straight on and just do this. How is he supposed to find your energy in that? He just contradicted himself from what he said years ago.
This is why I have a problem with the clip. Between the contradiction, between the, you know, saying what's hack, you know, which again, if you don't menstruation, you basically shut the door on Tracy Morgan. If you go, don't say what's your name, what's your occupation, you shut the door on crowd work. This is bad advice.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with you on that. I would like to see more context, because if it's about something specific and you're doing it because the club wants you. If you're a feature, the club doesn't want a lot of blue work or outside, because the club, when they can hire you easier if you just fit a very neutral kind of place. The club does, because they don't want anybody competing with the headliner.
Right.
So I understand that if you're sending, because you're trying to get into Joe's Comedy Hut in Memphis. Then that thing made sense to me, what he said. And you're just trying to give him something very... But why would you want to give him something that's not you?
If I'm just starting comedy, this is my dream. I'm pursuing it. I've never touched the stage, but this is... I'm an embryo. I'm fresh out the mother's womb. I'm about to start. And I see that tape, that footage, and I'm wet behind the ears. When you're wet behind the ears and you're eager, you soak everything up and you take it as what you need to do. You starting off bad already because you're listening to something that may hinder you and you up. You know, listen, there's special people who throw technique out the window. When they go, you know, in boxing, you're supposed to keep your hands up, protect yourself. Roy Jones, when he was in his prime, he'd keep his hands low. That's a big no-no. But he was so special in terms of what he could do and speed and reflexes. He threw the rules out the window.
I think, though, you got to know the rules, though, before you break them, right?
Okay.
So
fair enough.
But again, even in this video, I don't know.
But rules are made to be broken.
Yes, and I don't know what.
Hence, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
George Carlin. Find out where the line is in comedy and deliberately cross it. Break the rule.
You owe it to comedy to deliberately cross it. It's owed. But again, I don't know what the context of this is because this doesn't. None of it made sense to me. Unless it was very specific. Unless it was a very specific thing that he's trying to describe. And then when the other guy with him, I didn't even see who it was. And he goes, "Or it's hack."
Hack.
That's not hack. If you can do the joke better than anyone else ever has, you've taken it to another level. If it's a joke that you took higher than anyone else ever has, it's not hack. You have to get past it. I understand when there's certain jokes that have been over and over and over, and those have been the same exact thing over and over and over. Yeah, you're treading the water on top of hack. But if you have an original thought, if you can change the way that the person perceives what you just said, that's different from everyone else's hack joke, and you took it to the next level, it's not hack.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you can't. It's a subjective art form. You can't say what's right and wrong. You can't.
But he's really, I think Barry's saying what he's looking for right now, specifically, how he's looking.
Right.
Because that's not the same thing that he said years ago.
Okay, JonBenét Ramsey.
How much, wait, before you jump, how much did you know about any of the stuff that's in here than you knew from the news? That, like,
On the JonBenét Ramsey thing?
yeah, like when you watch it, did you know all the that followed?
Oh, no.
I
didn't follow that.
Well, it was on the news all the time.
I know it was a big story, and I knew what everybody knew in terms of how big it was, but I didn't know the in depth.
I didn't know, and I knew
Right.
that they thought he did it. He fought it. I knew the whole news about making him seem even more guilty.
The family, the mother, and the father.
Yeah, but because they
Right.
left town and they did all these things,
Wow.
and they wouldn't. The lawyer said, "Don't talk to him." Man, I had no idea that how deep this went.
You know, when they talked about the ransom note, and in the ransom note, it's like, you know, don't contact the authorities if you try to do this or that. We're going to kill her. And I just thought, dude, if you're in that situation and you see that note, do you comply as instructed, or do you contact the authorities?
I don't know. I think there's a thoughtful conversation there, but I think you almost have to. You want to not contact the authorities. You want to listen to what the note says, but this person's already took your kid out of your house or has done whatever notes you ever get that's a ransom note. Mm-hmm. They've already went against you, so I don't know how you don't contact the authorities.
Right.
I would think that you would. Yeah, I think I would. I would say it doesn't say I don't want you. I wouldn't have them come over to the house though, like they did. Like, don't contact the authorities, and then the police show up. I would have been like, it says don't contact the authorities. What are we going to do?
You know, it's crazy. Like, this is when you ask that question, how much I didn't know, because I, like everybody else, thought they did it, you know, because that was the big thing. They killed her. So I thought, you know, they did it. Dude, when I watched this thing, in episode 1, I was sure they did it. But then by the 3rd episode, you knew there's no way. There's no way they did this.
Well, from the very beginning, the news reported The way that I understood it from the news that I saw when this happened is that their daughter was missing. They called the police. The police came over. They were looking around the house. They searched the house. They didn't find her, and then they said, "Well, help us look." It was almost like the police searched the house, couldn't find her, and then the police said, "Well, we couldn't find her." So he goes, "Well, I'm going to look." Is how they made it sound.
Right.
And then he went to a secluded. The way they made it sound, I thought it was like some kind of hole in the wall that was like a dumbwaiter or something that you wouldn't expect to find a person in. And that's where they found him, in this hidden spot. She was out in the open. It wasn't downstairs. It was in the basement.
But they couldn't find her. But the thing was, he specifically found her. He's found her in a specific spot, almost like immediately.
Almost immediately.
So that made them look.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
because he thought, well, where should we go look? Well, let's start in the bottom. Let's start at the basement. He went to the basement, and it's almost in the first rooms that they went into. He finds her right there. These guys didn't search the house, though. What they didn't say is the police didn't search the house. And then you find out that there wasn't a murder there the whole year. So they weren't looking for a murder. They were stuck on it's a kidnapping. They didn't think that the kid was there. And they up the evidence in the place. Because JonBenét finds her, picks her up, and runs the body out.
Listen, I don't have a whole lot of notes for this, but I have in-depth notes in terms of the few that I have.
Go.
So let me jump ahead. So this guy, because you just mentioned how they f***ed up the crime scene. So the killer, allegedly, guy by the name of John Carr, who after several other people who they thought might be responsible, but they weren't because there was no DNA match, this guy John Carr contacts somebody.
One of the investigators who didn't give up on the case and
Yes.
was keeping to investigate.
And they start having these conversations, and I don't want to get into that part yet, but long story short, this guy, John Carr, based on these conversations, based on certain things that he said that only the father would know, certain things that were confirmed, he was the guy, man. But because they f***ed up the crime scene and said, well, there was no DNA match. Well, they f***ed up the crime scene, so now he essentially was cleared.
Well, that's the question, because no one's DNA matches, including the parents. So, but they never eliminated the parents.
Dude, let me tell you something, man.
But they eliminate the other people.
I know, but you know what? And again, because I didn't know until I watched this how deep this went, if you're on the outside looking in, yeah, the parents. But dude, once you see this and you do the eye test, you do the gut test, the way the father, when he was being interviewed, things he said, his expressions, I don't believe they did this.
No.
The parents did not do this.
The only one I think who still thinks they did it is the one cop.
The one dude
I don't
who
remember
made
his
the
name.
book and they sued him.
Yeah, and he had and why, if it's an ongoing case, how do you get to make a book about it?
Well, the father said that's unprofessional.
Yeah. And he had, and when you listen to him, and his theory is that there was some potty training issues, and so he
Right.
So she killed her kid, and then they made it look like they killed the kid with strangulation. And
Well, even when they went on Larry King and did the interview, and Larry alluded to that, what people were saying. So it was a bedwetting, and the father's like, how ridiculous is that? So she killed her daughter because she wet the bed?
and the way that she was killed. So now you're going to get your daughter and go, okay, well, honey, you killed our girl, so let's choke her and get this cord to go through her neck, and we're gonna set all this up, and we're gonna do all that, and then we're gonna hide her, and then we're gonna pretend like we found her.
So just to give you folks some context, there was like a homemade noose that was made in a particular fashion where the killer would control how the noose would be tightened and loosened. And she was basically, JonBenét, tortured, where she was choked in and out of consciousness. There were marks on her back that looked like she was hit with a stun gun. Because the way they broke it down, they said that she was pulled out of her bed at night. Apparently all this went down in the basement in the house. And then at one point, even a paintbrush that her mother used was broken. And the part that was broken was used to insert into her vagina. which caused bleeding and stuff like that. And so at one point, they even tried to blame this on her brother. Well,
Yeah.
the theory was her brother did it. Now, I forget how much older her brother was, but he wasn't that much older than
It
her.
was like a year or two.
And I wrote, how stupid is that theory that the brother did it? So, because also, there was also what might have been the fatal blow to the head by either a flashlight or a baseball bat. And I'm going, so how would you, and then they even did a mock example of, they showed a little kid, like they choreographed this to show it. He would hit her in the head with the flashlight.
Because she stole his snacks.
Took some of his snacks. And I go, okay, so let's just go with the stupid theory. All right, he hits her in the head with the thing. Well, how do you explain the noose and the stun gun and the broken paintbrush? The little brother did all that too?
Well, what they said, what part of this was, and this wasn't so much in this documentary, but I do remember this. What they said is that the brother did it. This was the police's idea, that the brother did it, and then the parents didn't want him to get in trouble because they didn't want to lose both their kids.
So they cover for him.
So they did the stuff to cover, but that would still mean that they would have to grab their daughter,
That's
break a
outrageous.
brush, and simulate some kind of sexual act, and then take that noose and basically cut her. It tore her neck.
Right.
And so the parents, they would have to hate the kid to be able to do that. You couldn't just do it to make your other kid
Right.
say. You would, maybe even if you did try to choke, you wouldn't do it like that. I mean, I just don't think a parent could do that. I'm talking about from my perspective.
I mean,
don't
there's
think
got to
parent
be
could
a
do that.
certain layer of evil that I would even think, they always say, like with the serial killers and the person that lived next door to him, such a peaceful guy. I couldn't have imagined. He was such a regular, nice guy. Hey, good morning. Not saying that the parents can't be that, but dude, if you can do that to your own child, there's got to be something that you can see in the face, in the eyes. That's why when this John Kerr dude was arrested, and this, again, he had done what he had done and then fled to Bangkok, where he was living, and had eluded police for like 10 years, and his occupation in Bangkok was he was teaching kids. But when they arrested him and they showed his face in pictures and in live motion, them eyes, man, them eyes, dude, I went, that did that.
Well,
I didn't see that in the eyes of the Ramseys.
Well, and also, this was John Ramsey's second family. So he has kids that were like, this is no way. This is not our dad. Our dad
Right.
would never be able to do this. And that part right there. So then that's why I think they moved it over to her. Like, she did it. And now
Right.
he's covering for her because they couldn't make it about him. It's very weird. They just moved. They kept moving the pieces around. They had an idea, and they kept moving the pieces around to fit their idea. They didn't really look at the pieces and go, "Does this fit?"
Right.
And I thought that
Like
was,
that one cop did who adamantly was like,
They didn't do it.
they didn't do this.
No, and if he had done things in the past, well, like the idea that he was young too. The kid was still like what? How old was she? She was
JonBenét?
6.
She was six.
So he was 7 or 8. So you're saying that he took this bat or this flashlight and hit her across the head, which is possible, but it would be very odd that he would be able to have one blow that strikes her and he gets it right at 7.
Right.
And the other part of it is the doctor, her doctor, JonBenét's doctor, her pediatrician, never saw any problems. I don't think you go from I don't think that you go from nothing to you took my snack and now I have to beam you over the head with this flashlight
Right.
without any other kind of problems before.
Right.
So that one was, and then they cleared him. They eventually cleared that son with a
Yeah.
he came out and said after the media went after him and said he didn't do it. The police actually said he didn't do it.
How scary is the idea that you are a father and you got a wife and the mother, y'all are sleeping at night and your daughter is in the basement being sexually assaulted and tortured and murdered. It ain't like the kidnapper broke in, took her from her bed, and took her somewhere else. Y'all are sleeping. This is happening in the basement while y'all are asleep. That's insane.
What size? How many thousands of square feet was this house though? It was like
It was huge.
6,000 or 8,000.
Right.
It was so, and the basement was way below, so it could happen. But man, maybe people shouldn't live in big old houses like that. I mean, I'm saying if you have kids,
Dude, I'm like, you know what? If I got kids like that, and I'm getting a couple pet lions, and they can roam the house.
I had a 3-bedroom house, and the master was next to the other 2 bedrooms. There ain't no one coming into those rooms without me knowing about it.
Right. I gotta ask you, man. How much? Look, life's up, happens, can happen. But I go, how much do you blame the parents? Because they said there were several suspects who they thought might have been responsible because they confessed or had shrines of JonBenét and had an obsession with JonBenét because of how beautiful she looked and was dressed up the way she was dressed. Now, there was a moment where they had like a mock jury on like a Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah.
And the lady goes, when JonBenét did the Christmas show, the way she grabbed that saxophone and was playing it, moving with it, it looked like she was masturbating with it. And I wanted to go, is that what you saw? Or did you see a little child just being a child having fun? Is that lady out of her gourd? And it's a 2-part question because it goes back to what I'm saying where I go, these beauty pageants where these moms live vicariously through their daughters and dress them up like adults and have them in scantily, what's the word?
Scantily clad.
Clad clothes. If your daughter is the Halle Berry of children, and you know that there are sexual monsters that get turned on by that, does any blame fall on the parents? So the 2-part question, that and is that what you saw? Did you see a little girl masturbating with a saxophone or just being a child doing a performance?
I saw a little girl doing a performance like how you see people play a saxophone. That's to move the saxophone.
Well, you don't play a saxophone that way. When you stand still and you play the saxophone.
No, there's some people.
But that's what a kid would do.
Yeah, because
right.
Because an adult would do it anyway. Would do it like the adults usually would pick the saxophone this way because they're big enough to do it.
Yeah, I've seen that glamorized in movies for effect.
Okay,
but in real life, you just stand there and play
But that's where she's getting it from a movie or from what
she's
seen.
6.
She's 6. So that's what she sees. So she's doing that. I saw a little kid playing a saxophone, trying to look like they're playing a saxophone.
So I felt like that lady was just attacking the parents.
I felt like the lady, once you know that the little girl was harmed and you see her in those little outfits, she was piling on. She was piling. Yes, that's what it is. I didn't see that at all.
I didn't either.
I didn't see that at all. But I'm going to say something that after I watch this, I'm careful about what I want to say right now because the way things are today, people are going to take this out of context. I think might try to take this out of context. I saw her up on the stage with the other little girls. She looked different than some of the other girls. She actually looked like a little, and this is what people were talking about that were upset about it. She looked like a woman a little bit. She didn't look just like, when you just go for the face, from a little distance, she looks really, it's an attractive looking look. I mean, they had her, she looks right. And then you see it's a little kid. And I'm not saying that I was attracted to it. That's what I'm worried about, what people were going to say on this. But the thing is, when I saw it, I was like, okay, I understand that lady who's saying she's sexualized too,
right,
because they made her look so.
So that's why I'm asking: do you blame the parents?
No, I don't, and this is why. And I did up until I saw this. And I don't want to say I blamed them, but I thought that they had some culpability in this. But I didn't, because when I saw what she said, this and the way she said it, I believed her. There were pageants that moms put together with their daughters, and it was family that went to these things. For the most part, that's what it was. It was family.
And sexual predators.
I didn't know. I wouldn't, if you were looking at it from the place that this is your daughter and she wants to do this, you want to do this, and it's family, you're not thinking about it as, and you're inviting all the family, and they're coming over to see the.
But it was
pageant.
An open forum for anybody to attend.
That shit should not be an open forum.
Okay,
that's what that's where I was going to go with
because
this.
Here's my thing, and just like you said, you want to tread lightly. Of course, by no means am I giving a pass to anything. That's sick. But what I'm saying is, if it's an open forum and there are dudes who are attracted to little children like that, and you're dressing them up to be the best they could be, that's like a kid in a candy store for
It's
for
actually
a monster.
it is a kid in a candy store, in a monster candy store.
So that's where I just go.
But that's to the point of that is though. Also, when you say that, is if they're not thinking about it that way. If they're looking at it, this is my little girl. Like when they said the dad had the pictures of his girl on the desk, and they thought that was kind of fishy.
Right.
If you're not looking at it, if that's my girl and she's dressing, it's not sexualized. Then you don't think about that you have predators in there. But we do. We know they're predators. These things should be closed. They shouldn't. You should have to buy a ticket, and you should have to have a reason to be there.
Listen, if you're a sexual predator and a monster, and there's cute little girls being dolled up, that's like Comic-Con for child molesters.
Maybe
that's an event.
Some pedophiles wouldn't like that because they want their kids to look like children.
Ugh.
So that this is a different. This is also different. But I don't understand the idea of pageantry. I didn't have a daughter. I don't know that if I had a daughter and I came up, as I was a parent after this happened, I wouldn't let my daughter do that at this point. But I'm not putting that on them because that wasn't the point that they were at. And the way she talks about it, this was just if you don't sexualize your child, if they're going up there in their little outfits and you're not looking at them as sexual objects, you're looking at them as cute little pageant girls. It might be hard for people to understand that that's just the way that they looked at it. But and in hindsight, now that we're looking back at it and go, hey, that opens up the door for a lot of things. We didn't have that back then. I didn't know about little pageant girls. We didn't even, honestly, as I remember when it was on the news, people were like shocked that there was these pageants going on, that these girls were dressing up like this and doing this kind of stuff. It wasn't that known. It wasn't like we didn't have social media at the time. Today, could you imagine? Those would be all social media. The pictures would be all over. There'd be a site called Little Girls Looking Like Big Girls. It would be horrible. I mean, it would be worse than it is right now. I don't think that they do this because I haven't seen this pop up on anything like that. But at that time, I don't think that the parents were looking at it that way. I think it was a little. They felt a little safer at that time. This hadn't happened yet, and no one was looking at it that way.
I just believe, as much as you can, just let kids be kids.
Yeah.
There's no reason why a little girl needs makeup on.
I understand that part is that's the creepy part.
And needs to be in semi heels and shit. That's crazy.
But
let a child be a child.
But if it's a little girl and she likes heels and she wants to be
dress up
in a pageant dress, yeah, and little. My niece at a very young age, I forgot her mom wouldn't let her have makeup. She wanted to wear makeup because she saw her mom putting on makeup.
Okay, well maybe there's a way to do that without the pageant. Do that shit at home with your mom and play dress up.
Or have some rules at the pageant where you don't get to wear all this makeup, or it has to be very minimal, if any. None would be good.
None.
No, until you get to this age, and that
I don't even see why at that age you need to be in a pageant. Competing in about beauty.
For me, it's hard to say because
you're missing teeth.
I didn't have a daughter. I don't have, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have a daughter. I don't know that if my daughter came to me and said she wanted to be in a pageant, I don't know. I don't know what that feeling. I have no idea what that would be like because I only had boys. Right. And I'm from a family of boys. I have a sister from my mom's. She's my sister. She is my sister, but blood-wise she's half. And that wasn't her. Beauty pageants wasn't my girl's thing. My sister's thing. My sister was a sheriff in Phoenix, and she in Tucson. I'm sorry, and she fits all the parameters of what a female sheriff.
This is a dyke, though, isn't she?
Yeah, so I'm saying she fits all the. See, she wasn't a pageant girl, so I don't have any idea what
she'd be in a rib contest.
I don't have any idea what a pageant, like a kid that liked that, what they would be like and why you would do it. I have no idea. I can't comment on it. But if you had a daughter that liked pageants and was into Barbie and wanted to dress up and be that, I mean, it would be kind of hard just to say, no, you can't do that unless they had pageants and they had rules. That would make sense if the rules were to keep the more innocence, I guess. But if you're not looking at it sexual, it doesn't seem like it's not innocent. I don't know. This one is I don't have the answer.
Here's the hard part now. So episode 3.
Okay, you're gonna go. We're going to it. Okay. Yeah. It's around 20 minutes and 20 minutes 26 minutes, I think, somewhere in there.
Right. So now was he a reporter talking to the guy?
No, this was the one of the other detectives. This was not a police detective, a detective, somebody who had worked on the case.
All right. Well,
he might have been a reporter.
I think it was a
too.
reporter.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
reporter.
So the reporter is talking to John Carr, who is the alleged. He confesses.
Says he did it.
He says he did it, and he's describing in detail what went down that night. And he's talking about how he would tighten the noose, and she would
Pass out,
and
and then
her body would convulse, right? And then she would come to, and he'd tell her, "Oh, you just fell into a dream." And then at one point, once he realized that she killed her, he starts crying. And I have a daughter, and of course that would be my biggest nightmare. Always has been. Which is why I got emotional in the episode with the pastor. And I said this, man, and I mean this, dude. I mean this with every fiber of my being. When they catch these sick, sadistic, if there was a sign-up sheet where you could sign up to kill these people, I would sign up. I would sign up to enact revenge on these. It bothered me so much that I go, I don't give a what they say in terms of, well, that's not going to bring your daughter back. It may not. That ain't going to make you feel better. I don't know if it will or won't. But I know that when you cross that line and you do that to a kid, you deserve to feel what the most harshest pain ever. I don't care if it's so quick, they go, well, you wouldn't even really feel it. I need to tape some dynamite to your mouth and light the fuse and have your whole head blow up. I need to have you strapped to a chair and I take a chainsaw and I put it directly on your nutsack. You deserve to be tortured and heinously destroyed. I would sign up to do it.
Well, they say the punishment fits the crime. So if you were choking out a little girl with that, and you kept doing it and bringing her back to letting her live and then bringing her back, then letting her live and bringing her back, going back and forth with it. That seems like that's fair, right? That you should be able to, that should be how you taken out.
This humanity, I think, should have a line to it. Well, we got to be humane. We can't be as low as them because what does that say about us?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
That.
What I do, I don't know that I need them to suffer the same way.
I do.
But what I would say is I don't need anybody else to be that's where it should end.
And here's the kicker. So let me get this straight. John Ramsey, the father, loses his oldest daughter to a car accident. He loses his youngest daughter to a torture, sexual assault, and a murder. He loses his wife to cancer.
She fought it for 7 years after this happened,
Right.
or 8 years.
And loses to cancer. So he lost both his daughters tragically and his wife tragically. Explain God to me. Sell God to me. Now hold up. And this is where I go, and on top of that, if the loss of your wife to cancer, the loss of your daughter to a car accident, the loss of your daughter to a heinous up sexual assault, torture, murder ain't enough. The guy that did it goes free. And they said in the Chiron, he's now living his life somewhere, out there somewhere.
Out of the United States.
Out of the United States, eating, breathing, living, and can do it to another kid.
And and even if they said that he didn't do this one, he's been arrested for this before.
Sell God and karma to me now.
Okay.
And this is why when I go, Bill Maher said something on his show one time where he basically said, phooey to karma. And I've alluded to this where he goes, listen, man, I've always said, he goes, listen, man, it's a numbers game. 7 billion people on the planet. There are some people who will do foul to other people and they're going to get some get back. And then there are a lot of people who do foul to people. Nothing happens to them at all. So is it karma? It's a numbers game. This is going to play out on both sides.
Karma.
So people try to make sense of that don't make sense.
No, that's true. They try to make sense of some. There's just bad people sometimes. But karma doesn't take place in this. To understand karma doesn't take place in this life. It takes place.
I've heard you say this many a times.
That's what karma
That's
really
not
is.
satisfying to me.
Yeah, that's
Because you don't know.
well.
That's not satisfying
you don't.
to me.
You don't.
Which is why what is satisfying to me is that I stick a dynamite in your mouth and light the fuse. Because I don't know that karma is real other than what you tell me. But I know if I see your head blow up into 1,000,000 pieces because I put some dynamite in your mouth and lit the fuse, I know that goes down. I know that'll happen.
Well, I think that if you were a child predator and you go to prison, your life is pretty miserable for the rest of your life too.
Well, that's debatable too.
Well, but
there are some guys that, yes, well, you might get up, but what if you don't? I'm saying I need to see something happen to you.
Well, putting a stick of dynamite in someone's mouth and their head blows off, it's over for them. That's it. That's all the pain that they suffered.
Okay, great.
Is that enough for you?
That's enough. Boom, nigga.
I'm not, I don't try to answer every question because in my head, it hurts. I mean, I'm thinking about it and I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with you. I've never said that that I'm for capital punishment or I'm against capital punishment. What I'm saying is, in these circumstances, I understand everything that you're saying. I also understand that I would want them to suffer more.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I agree that that's the way, but the priority for me is for that to never, ever, that person be able to do it again.
And that to me is almost bigger than the suffering. Is to make it so that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, the thing that got me so emotional with that reverend is the terror. The terror, dog, of going as a 6-year-old, man. What's your mind state? What are you thinking? How do you dude, I'm a grown 49-year-old man. If a goddamn pit bull was to chase me, you know how horrified I would be? But I would at least go as a grown man, maybe I can pick up a stick, hit this, maybe I can do a zigzag and get away from him, jump on top of a car. I have enough sense and physical strength where I can maybe figure something out. Yo, you're a 6-year-old, with an adult putting the fear of God in you. You have no choice but to suffer. And that to me is unforgivable. That you would do that to a kid, man. You deserve to be heinously ripped apart. I say, and this is why I say, let's have fun with it. Not only do you sign up, but whoever comes up with the best torture method, that's what gets carried out. I say dip you in straight blood and then put you in a cage with a tiger, a lion, a gorilla, and an alligator. Good luck. You deserve heinousness.
I can't. Like I'm saying, if that was my daughter, if it was my son, I mean, I have to go with my son because I can feel it. If someone hurt my son, I would agree. I agree. You need them to feel what you. But it doesn't change anything. It makes you have a feeling where you know that they suffered because your child suffered. I just want to make sure that I wish there was a way in our legal system that you knew that person was never, ever going to be able to do that again to anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said, and I'm proud of myself when I say this because I think it's a great, I don't know if analogy, metaphor, whatever. I think it's an analogy. But, dude, I really believe that life is like a giant casino. We've all got a hand to be dealt. Very few people beat the house. But the truth is most of us just enjoy the free liquor in the 99-cent buffet. That's as good as it gets. That's just as good as it gets.
For the most part, we don't know what everybody else's trauma is, but most people have some kind of difficulty or trauma in life. No one gets out of this place unscathed. But to have it go that deep, to lose a child, and then
go through the scrutiny of the media against you, the people against you,
You can't
knowing
even-
you're innocent.
and you can't even mourn your child because you're too busy trying to defend yourself. But there's something that was said in this way back in the beginning of this.
They had to sell their home just to pay for their lawyers.
They were out of money. I love though when he says that when it's in episode 1 where he said the lawyer said to him, he goes, shouldn't we talk to him because there's a lot. He goes, there's many. I forget exactly how he said it, but there's many innocent people in jail because they thought they should talk to the police.
How many times
Innocent people. There's a lot of innocent people in jail. 'cause
How
they thought
many
they should talk
times
to the
have I
police.
said when we watch these crime shows, shut the up. People talk to the police without legal representation, and they screw themselves. Shut the up.
That's you have that right for a reason.
Right.
And but then the media and the police try to play it out like they were bad people because they didn't want to talk to them. But you know what? I understand why they don't want. If you were the person that they suspect you of it, and they're not looking at anybody else, and this is what John Ramsey to this day his problem is they never really looked for anyone else. These other people kind of fell into place when these other things didn't work out, and other investigators had said it's not them. And there's still people that in the police department apparently that believe it's them, and they haven't given up on that theory. But if you're going through this, you don't talk to anybody. The police. How could you? You couldn't because they're not doing anything. And then here's John. Here he is after all these years, and they still have things that haven't been examined for DNA, and the DNA isn't matching anyone. And they don't. If they really thought that the Ramseys did this is the other thing I don't understand. Why didn't the other pieces of clothing that they had, even since they said it was kind of degraded some of the DNA, why didn't they go through this other stuff already? Why haven't they already examined the other clothing for DNA? Why wasn't there more done? They were just so satisfied that it was them, and they thought they were done.
Right.
But then how come? And we've seen this in other cases. And I'm not saying this is all police. Police do have a job to do, but once they believe it, it seems like they never want to walk back on what their initial belief was.
Right.
And I don't understand that because I get it looked like something, but I just don't see it from potty training to.
Like I said, there's got to be a special level of evil for you to do that to your kid. Now granted, I run across a lot of these stories on Instagram where I just read one where a dad beat his son to death because he lost in a game of 2K. And the son was bothering him.
So you beat him to death. But I'm
Beat
sure.
him to death. I mean, I know sick shit can happen like
But
that.
usually there's other signs that the dad has had
Right.
other problems or other things have occurred or
Right.
the other things have happened in the house. The school has reported other things. There was nothing here.
Yeah.
There was only people that supported them until this went down.
Right.
And then she played the saxophone. Like,
It's crazy. Like, in your mind, the more heinous the crime, you think that the boogeyman looks like, I don't know what the character's name is, but remember in the first Suicide Squad, the motherfucker that could swim in the water that looked like a crocodile.
yeah, yeah.
You think that that's what monsters look like. And when you look at this John Kerr dude, now, like I said, his eyes look dark, but this looked frail and like a strong wind would knock him down. The monsters never look like the stereotype boogeyman.
Well, what's the movie with here I go.
Give me clues.
It's happening. Denzel Washington
Okay, that's a good clue so far.
and the guy from Roseanne.
Oh, Fallen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Devil's never going to come to scare you. The devil doesn't want to scare you. The devil is going to make you look like this is the person you're supposed to be with. The devil does not want to scare you. He wants you to he wants you to walk over. He wants to get a hug.
Well, then I'm not going to do that.
But it's the truth. It's the truth, though.
I just want to say to you religious nuts, when you say things like, don't question God, God works in mysterious ways, it's blasphemous for you to, how do you not question? When that goes down, how the can you not question?
Because at your deepest, darkest moment, when the end is near for you, or a tragic situation is happening to or around you, you want to have a place to go. You want to have someone to go to. If you don't have that, what do you have when it happens to you?
I read where somebody described, I forget what the post was, but it was something about, the same kind of thing where, do you believe, do you not, God, religion. Somebody described prayers as just unlistened to whispers in the wind.
No. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I'm not saying whether you agree or disagree.
No, the only
I'm just
reason,
saying
because you heard it. If you're whispering it, you were hearing it.
But don't you need him to hear it?
I don't know what him is.
Riddle me this, Batman.
So, yeah. But no, what the moral of this is, the world's a f***ed up place.
Let me quote my man. I love that. I love that quote at the end of the movie. It just was the perfect kiss to what was a great movie. Ernest Hemingway once said that the world is a fine place and it's worth saving. I agree with the second part. Oh, 7.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
Yeah, this is not a rehearsal, man.
So it's called Who Killed JonBenét? It's on Netflix. Check it out. Like Andy said, episode 3. What was the time code?
It's right in the 20-minute mark, 20, 23, somewhere there.
It's tough.
When you get to it, though, if you don't want to listen to it, it only lasts like a minute or 2 minutes. But I'm telling you, when I was listening to it, I was like, I actually, by myself, said out loud, I don't know if I should be listening to this.
I was sitting in my room like, damn, I've never heard anything like that before. And I mean, the fact that you're going to put the visual with what he's saying, that was a tough pill to swallow, man. Which is why I immediately wrote the note about the dynamite in the mouth, because that's how I felt at the moment.
I still, it's very, like, I got rid of that. As we're talking about it, I remember it, and I told you, because we talked about it. But I have, if you ask me what he said, I know very little about what he said. There's a few things I remember, but I try to get that out of my brain. It is so, not only is it gut-wrenching because it's going to hurt, just because if you don't even have to have kids, but just knowing that this is a child that this is happening to.
Can't we change the laws a little bit?
Yeah.
Like when you see, but when you see the footage of people in court where the killer is being sentenced or whatever, and the family members jump on him, start trying to rush him and beat him up, and the bailiffs and all the cops pull him off. I know they got to do that, but come on, man, just let him have 2 minutes before you jump in there. Let him play. You should be able to put hands on a motherfucker if they take your mama or your child or somebody you love. Just come on, man. Can't we change the law?
It does seem like if someone's found guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, and they're guilty and everything came out, and the parents know, they take your kid. The parents aren't allowed just to go into a room, just.
You know what I'm saying?
At least one. Just
I'm
one.
saying.
You get one swing.
Nah, you gotta get a couple. You know what I mean? Or if you take the one, you gotta have like an iron in your hand as brass knuckles when the iron's hot.
I think it's owed to them, but it's not. Is it the right thing to do?
I know it's kind of sick, but I'm telling you, dude, I almost would love to hear people's. If you had to sign up on the sign-up sheet, and you had to come up with the best torture method to somebody up who deserved it, what would you come up with?
But you have to do it.
You have to do it. You got to carry out. The winner, here's a list, 20 signed up, 200 people signed up. Out of the 200, who came up with the best, I'm going to this moment, and whoever wins, you get to enact that punishment on that.
So it has to be something you're willing to do, though.
You're willing to do.
Yeah.
You sign up for the motherfucker. Oh, this nigga did what to that kid? Yo, put me on the sign-up sheet, yo. Here's my idea. I won, then I get to carry out what I thought up.
Yeah, it's something to do with removal.
Or a spiked bat, I get to take a swing at you. Butt naked, you naked. And I get to swing as hard as I can with a spiked bat.
It's just, it should be that if you're a rapist, if you're a dude and you're a rapist, it should just go. You shouldn't get to carry that shit around. It should just be gone.
I say you're 2 inches away from the muzzle of a tank. Boom. Your face, your head is 2 inches away from the muzzle of a tank, nigga. Wow! Give out some dates.
Guys, we just finished up here in Denver. Denver's been interesting. It's
Happy holidays, y'all.
yeah. It's no, it's been interesting. They're good crowds. They pay attention. They laugh. I don't have a problem with Denver. I like Denver. They should buy more merch, but I like Denver. December 13th through 15th, this next week. As you're listening to this, that night, Thursday, we're going to be at the Raleigh Improv. December 13th to the 15th. December 19th through the 22nd, we're going to be at the Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia. We're excited. December 27th through the 28th, we're going to be at the Dayton, Ohio Funny Bone. That's out in Dayton. December 31st, Aries is going to be at Summit City Comedy Club in Fort Wayne, Indiana, to ring in the new year with you lucky folks.
Boy.
January 3rd through the 5th, we're going to be at the Milwaukee Improv. January 10th through the 12th, we're going to be at Bricktown Comedy Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. January 16th through the 17th, we're going to be at the Helium Comedy Club in Indianapolis. January 23rd through the 26th, we're going to be at the Helium Comedy Club in Atlanta. Our first time there. Very much looking forward to coming out to Atlanta to say hello to all the people who've been going, hey, when are you coming to Atlanta? January 30th through February 1st, we're at the Miami Improv. February 21st to the 22nd, we're in Albany, in New York at the Funny Bone. And December 27th through March 2nd, we're at the DC Comedy Club. Obviously in DC.
When is that date?
February 27th through March 4th. So the end of February.
Okay.
That's it for right now. Guys, this was the show. Around that 20-minute mark, take notice and do what you need to do. All right? Anything else?
Nada.
It's the show.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit spearsburgpod.com.